Alright guys, here we go again. We're back at it with this intro to SolidWorks. We're dealing with this assembly right now, and I just got finished talking about the difference between external components, the ones that you've built in other part files and imported into an assembly, versus internal components or virtual components, which are ones that you've built inside of an assembly and then saved external files out from there. Okay, so now in this video what I want to talk about is how to add some raised or lowered type into the body of these couple of parts here. And the way that we do that, there is a type tool in SolidWorks under here to the sketch tab. There is this type tool here, but nobody really uses that thing. It's tricky and a little bit annoying. So most of the places that will go, or most of the ways that people will do this, is they'll just make themselves something in Adobe Illustrator, and that's what I'm going to do now. So first thing that I want to do here is go to my SolidWorks file, and I'm gonna make the decision that I want to put type maybe on the inside of this part here. And I have to make the decision, do I want to edit this part inside of the assembly, or do I want to do it in its own part file? I probably want to do it in its own part file. So I'm just going to do a right click and I'm going to open that part in its own part file, and then I'm going to go here to look normal to my top plane. I'm going to look normal to the top plane again to flip it around and look at the bottom side. And so there we go. So I want to put a little embossed logo right about here on the bottom side of my part. Okay, so first thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm just going to kind of open up some of this and take a look at the size of some of this stuff. So I'll just go to edit feature here, and I'll look at the feature that I used to build that. Let's see here. All right, let's exit out of that. What I'm looking for is just to get a general size of this part here. And I'm going to edit this one. There's that side. Okay, good. I'm just checking through all my pieces here. Let's go here to the main body and just do an edit feature on that. And there we go. So what we see here is that we've done a mid-plane extrusion. Now it's in both directions. It's gone the same distance. It's gone about 46.91 millimeters in either direction, right? All right, good. And so that's good. So it's about 20 by 46 times 2. You know what that is. It's about, whatever, we'll call it 90 by 20. Okay. So then over here in Illustrator, I want to go and make a new document. I want to make a document that's just about the same size as the part that I want to drop down onto. So I'll do that. I'll go 90 by, we'll say 20, call it millimeters. And we're going to just name this one JD Logo R1. And I'm going to go OK and hit the OK button. Fantastic. Okay, very good. We can do a Control R to show the rulers and just confirm that's kind of what we want. You know, what is it? Does it seem right? Who knows? Let's take a look, and maybe we just want to edit this artboard a little bit. Go down here to document setup, edit artboards, and in this one right here, maybe we'll just do 45. That seems a little bit more appropriate for what we've got, so why don't we just hit that? There we go. All right, fantastic. And just click there. That seems about what we want. So now I want to just grab my type tool, and I'm just going to draw out some type that kind of matches, and I'm just going to do my last name. And I'm going to pick a font that I like. And I'm going to adjust the font over here by just dropping it down a little bit and the -100. I'm going to actually do something like -300 kerning because I want all of these letters to smash into each other, because I want to show you guys an example of how to handle that. Okay? Okay, good. So right now we've got that type. It's all set. Next thing we have to do is we have to use the create outlines command, which is where you take type in Illustrator and you create outlines. So I'll just select the type itself, and I will do a right click, and I'll go here to create outlines. And as you can see, it then creates line work from my type. And then I want to zoom in on that. Take a look at that line work. So there's our line work, and as you can see, we've got line work for each of the letters kind of running into each other, and we want to use our Pathfinder tool to to smooth that out. So I'm going to go here to my Pathfinder in Illustrator. I'm going to use this shape mode, Unite Pathfinder, and I'm just going to unite all of that line work together so I have just as few lines as possible interconnecting this entire logo. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to zoom out from there. I'm going to take this and I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm just going to drag it out to what I think it should look like on my part. So there we go. Okay. All right. So I'm happy with that. And now the only thing to do is to export. I'll select it first. Here's a fun trick. We can select it first and go to export. All right. And then we're going to save it as a Dxf file. All right. I'm going to go to my USB project folder. In my Dxf folder, I've got a bunch of other test ones that I did. I'm just going to save this one, logo R1. When I get this Dxf Dwg Export options window that pops up, I'm just going to go here, export selected art only. That's true. I want that. And I'm going to make sure that I have millimeters selected and scale is 1 to equals 1. All right, good. And I'll hit OK. And I'm good to go. All right. Next, I want to look normal to this like that. Very good. Then I want to go insert Dxf Dwg, and I'm going to get a warning right away that's going to say, please select a plane or a planar face where you want this Dxf to be inserted. And I'll say, fine, okay. So I'm just going to select the plane that I want to drop it onto and do that operation again. Select the Dxf file that I want and hit OK. I'm going to get this dialog box here, which is the Dxf Import dialog box. I'm going to want to just, I'll notice right away that a lot of the options are grayed out. That's fine. And this is just going to be, we're going to import the part as a 2D sketch. Hit next. On this next window, there is some stuff to look at. We've got this thing, units of imported data. We just want to make sure that this units of imported data matches the units that we've got saved in our AI file. So that's good like that. And we'll go ahead and hit next again, and then we'll hit finish. Okay. And it's going to throw it off there, and we can see it sticking off over here like this. Very good. All right, fantastic. So now this is showed up as straight up line work, okay? And we want to be able to move it, right? If we try to move it, it moves around like that. We don't want that to happen, all right? So what we want to do is kind of like flatten all of this line work together, okay? And the way to do that is with a function called make block, all right? So I'm just going to draw a box around the entire logo and go here to make block. It's going to come, if we look over here at our property manager, you're going to see all the different little pieces of line work that make up this logo that I've made here. That's fine. Hit make block. And there we go. So you notice it changes a little bit of a color. You also make the notice that over in the design tree, your sketch has now a block 1-1 underneath it. Okay. Now, big question is, what do we do with this now? We want to scale it. We want to move it. Okay. Now, if we want to move it, we just grab any piece of line work, not like a point, but a piece of line work and drag it. And you see, as you drag it, you see that your property manager changes again to your block property manager. As you grab it and move it around, that changes, okay? So the first thing that I want to do is I, of course, want to flip it vertical, okay? So I've got this one line selected, so let me just add a vertical or a horizontal relationship to that line. There we go. You can see that flips it sideways just like that. Okay, good. So now I've also got this little horizontal relationship that will hold that there. And now what I can do is I can drag this over to wherever I want it to be. Let's see, I have to think about my part. I know that on my part I've got these two holes are on the back side, and I want this to be on the back side. I also want to change the scale a little bit. It's a little bit big for my taste, so that's fine. So over here with this this parameter box here with a small and a big circle, that's your scale box. So you can just go 0.5 and you can scale it down a little bit. If you want, actually 0.5 is a bit small. Why don't I say 0.75? That's better. Okay, and I'm going to just jump in here. And when I click off the block, it turns gray, but I can always grab it again and just move it anywhere I want. Fantastic, just like that. All right, well, I'm good with that. So now I've got this block, and it's sitting there on my part, and it's ready to get extruded or something like that, but I can't do a feature to a standard block. I have to explode the block first. So the way to do that, all right, the way to do that is to go over to the block in your design tree, just do a right click and go down here to explode block. And all that does is it transforms your flattened bit of line work back into standard line work that you then get a regular old sketch that you can apply any type of feature to that you want. So in this case, it's going to be probably a extruded cut. Let's do that. Spin around in 3D to take a look at what we're dealing with. So there we go. That's a bit of a drastic extruded cut. As we see, the line work is sitting right on that surface right there. So I know I want my extruded cut to only be probably about 1/4 of a millimeter. That seems pretty good right there. And why don't we just go ahead and do that. There we go. Voila. So I'm just going to spin around this thing in 3D to make sure that I'm looking at it in the right direction. And this is fantastic. So now you have now named your part. There you go. So voila. If I wanted to, I could do that again. I could also go back over here to the feature itself. I could delete that feature. Okay. And I could do a extruded boss base using that. Excuse me. I could edit this sketch, and I could do an extruded boss base that's going up 1/4 of a millimeter, and it would, and if as long as I have merge result checked, it will join the extrusion from into this surface, creating one whole part from it. So I can just go ahead and hit that, and then there is the extruded version of that. Super simple. There we go. Okay. So that's our part, and we're good to go. Let's go top plane, normal 2. Hit normal 2 twice, it flips your part around, and we can see our handiwork sitting right there. Okay. So I'm super happy with that, and I'm going to call it a day with this tutorial. Give it a shot yourself. A couple of things to just watch out for is when you're importing that Dxf file, just make sure that number one, your Illustrator file that you're building on is in a similar format to, it's a similar size to the part that you're building on in Solidworks. Make sure that the units of measure are the same across the board. If you're building in millimeters in Solidworks, make sure you're building in millimeters in Illustrator. And don't forget to use sketch relationships to your advantage when orienting your part in 3D space. And that's about it. Good luck to you, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.